Hello, helldivers. This is Badge Wild, and we are back with another Helldivers. More of a theory video. This is not something that is going to be like crazy. This is me just discussing combat theory and what we have now learned through Helldivers. All the stuff that we're now beginning to learn and realize with information that is being brought out. So today I'm going to talk about the concept of metas. Yes, the meta concept in the game. This is something that has kind of annoyed me because, and it is starting to continue to annoy me because everyone is stating, well, you know, this weapon's better than this weapon, that weapon's better than that weapon. And I'm here to say most of that, the more I'm beginning to see in Helldivers, the more I'm beginning to realize that the idea of the meta, the direction that a lot of the community is going is now starting to branch off and go into another direction. I'm just kind of going to tell everyone what I think, and this is mostly my theory and everything else, as to why the meta concept is bullcrap. So if you guys enjoy the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share the video with your friends, because this is also here to help you guys out in your battles, because my theory on this is supported by a lot of evidence. So anyway, let's get started. So mostly when it comes down to Helldivers and you're playing missions, and this is where I'm going to start at, is in the macro. So in the macro of Helldivers, we now know, when we first started, we thought, well, there's two wars going on and both sides are fighting on either side, and we're fighting a war on two fronts. And as we're fighting this war on two fronts, it's basically like a third-person shooter. No, it's not. As it turns out, now we know, thanks to Mavelian Krieg, may those poor bastard souls rest in peace, that we are playing against a game developer. And this is more akin to the lines of a large, I would probably say this is the first mass multiplayer or extreme mass multiplayer tabletop game in human history, because we're the players. We're all fighting our own individual battles. The way this game is working is Joel makes a decision on where the story is going to go, and he puts out a choice. There are two choices. One is going to work, one is not, and there may be several variables. Now, instead of like a tabletop game where you roll a dice to see what the outcome is, we're rolling the dice. The Helldivers are the dice. The players are the dice. If we complete the objective or not, that is going to determine whether or not we get what we are after. That determines on whether or not, and we see this with other things, like with the Patriot exoskeleton, for instance. If we're all certain that if we had not gotten that planet liberated like we were supposed to, I can't remember the name of it, I know it starts with the C, but if we had not liberated that planet, we would not have the Patriot exosuit like we have now. And because of that, because we have the Patriot exoskeleton because we did that. That was the roll of the dice. If we succeeded, we would get it. If we didn't, we wouldn't. We see this now with the new Terminated Order. We didn't get there in time, so now Super Earth is suffering. We're probably going to see a reinforcement drop at some point in time if we don't complete it. It seems now that we've completed the major order now, and that probably means we're going to get more and more reinforcements. We're either going to get more reinforcements, or if we failed, we were probably going to suffer a reinforcement count, meaning our reinforcements probably would have been cut in half. Understanding this, and then there's the other thing that has to be understood of when we're fighting a battle. Now, this is new information. It's recently come out, and I don't know enough about computers to show this off, so we're just going to show some other things off while we're at it. I'm going to show off what's unlocked on the ship. But what we have learned now is that the game developers have told us that in combat, if you're outside of a tolerance zone of 75 meters, you're going to deal with more enemies. What does this mean? Well, we know that there is a heat buildup in the game. And the heat buildup in the game is dependent on several factors, mostly in how close you are or how close you are to completing the main objective. Now, as the heat builds up, you're going to be encountering random units, or what's called a random encounter, where you'll see just a patrol come out. There's a whole lot of stuff on it. People have done major videos. Do look up the concept of heat buildup in Helldivers. Very good, more than I can put into a video. But long story short, if a single Helldiver is outside the 75-meter zone from the group, instead of one encounter of enemies, you're going to encounter two. If all four are out there, you're going to get 4 times the encounter population than you would if you got with just the group together. So as a group, the game seems to be geared towards us working together as a team and working. This also comes to the concept of how the game's reward system works. If a single guy takes out a bug hive, everyone gets a reward for it. If someone finds super credits on the field, everyone gets the super credits. The only thing we're not sharing reward in is finding individual weaponry on the battlefield. That's it. And maybe vehicles if we find them. That being said, or ammunition. That being said, it appears that the way the game is running is not towards a meta, and I think this is something that we're going to see Helldivers eventually do, so I'm just getting ahead of the curve with everyone. This is where I get into theory. I think we're playing this game entirely wrong. We should not be playing the game as one soldier against an entire army. We should be playing this like a D&D campaign. Somebody needs to be the ranger. Somebody needs to be the AoE guy. Somebody needs to be crowd control. Somebody needs to be the fighter, the guy that gets up close and personal with the chargers, and takes them out. And I have played on teams where everyone has a specific job, and they come in, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, I'm just playing. And they go, well, okay, this guy here is set up for dealing with armored enemies. This guy's set up for Bile Titans. This guy is our crowd control dude. So if you could set up as something that could kind of mesh well with the entire group. And those teams, when they stay together and we operate, everyone has a job. Everyone's engaging something. Now, I am running a build mostly in the suicide missions and up to Helldiver that I affectionately like to call the Hunter Slayer, which it is specifically targeted to deal with the jumping grasshoppers from hell that run right up on you and lick you to death. So this build works very well against these hunters. It kills them very effectively, and you'll find yourself not only killing them off, but it also works good as a crowd control. There's also enough flexibility that you can deal with a charger if you have to, but you're not designed to do it. There are guys that go in and they're dealing directly to chargers. This idea of a meta, and this is also supported by the fact also that the developers are saying that there are, as some people don't know, there are 4 stats we're seeing. Here, let me go over to the guns here and show y'all. So, the way the developers have told us how this works is that with each weapon, there are 4 stats that we're seeing here with every weapon that is here. We get to see these 4 stats. Most of the people that are saying that there's a meta to Helldivers they are operating on these 4 stats. But the developers have told us that there are 50 stats in total, or there is 50 more stats that we're not seeing. So this here is just a microcosm of what we're seeing. We're just seeing a small fraction of what the actual weapon can do. We're not seeing anything else. Something that's not recognized, and this is part of the Hunter Slayer build. Everyone says that the Breaker shotgun is probably the better shotgun. But if you were to compare it to the Breaker Pray and Spray, most people will tell you that you're in the meta crowd say the Breaker Pray and Spray is the worst weapon in the game. It can't do a whole lot. It doesn't have the damage. Yeah, it's got a lot of capacity, but it's got less of a recoil, and it's got a greater fire rate, but the damage is not that impressive. Here's the thing that you don't realize. The Breaker Pray and Spray has a spread in an oval fashion. And I have seen this. I know this is probably one of those stats that we're not seeing on here. This is that long list of stats down here we're not seeing. The Breaker has a spread that's kind of minimal about like this. The Pray and Spray spreads out and can hit targets almost 4 or 5 meters at about 10 meters out. You're hitting an entire group with it. So yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but you're mass hitting. This is perfect for hunters because they may out jump your primary impact zone, but they're still going to get hit by this thing. It's still going to, and I have seen multiple times where the Pray and Spray has hit a hunter and crippled it badly enough that the hunter was unable to initiate its jumps, that a follow-up shot was all you needed to kill it with. This is why I'm saying that all of these stats here, this is not what you need to be going by. You need to be taking these weapons and checking every weapon out and seeing which one does what, seeing how they operate and what their advantages are. Because another thing, what we're seeing here is, oh, we got these 3 stats. One of these stats isn't here on the Las Scythe because we have a capacity. The Las Scythe has no capacity because it fires an infinite beam. As long as you pace your shots, you're going to do very good. This is perfect for a non-recoil. Also, the recoil is like 1. It's barely anything. It's not going to do nothing to it. And this is why I'm kind of showing this off, because the Breaker is great for medium weight enemies. It's great for the somewhat bigger ones, but the Pray and Spray will flat out shred groups of enemies far more efficiently than the Breaker could. And like I said, it has almost twice the ammunition capacity. It has a slightly higher fire rate, and it has a slightly smaller recoil. The difference is you're trading damage for volume and area saturation, which is something you don't get with the other shotguns. This one, the Slugger, is a very tight run. We're not seeing the spread stat of this weapon. We're not seeing the accuracy stats of these weapons. Because yeah, we can be accurate, but every weapon has a drift to the bullet. If you're firing on automatic, the bullets are going to drift and sway. No, we don't have this. We don't have a time to ADS. We don't have all this other stats. And these are stats I think that are there. This is why I'm saying that we need to be going to a meta to becoming specialists on the battlefield. One guy needs to be a specialist at killing mass enemies. One guy needs to be a specialist at taking out the medium weight and the brood commanders. One guy needs to be a specialist at dealing with the chargers, and another guy needs to be a specialist at dealing with bile titans and whatever else comes up, and vice versa with the automatons. There's probably builds that we have here that we're not looking at because everyone's screaming that there is some type of meta. In reality, the game developers don't want us to use a meta. They want us to operate more like a D&D campaign. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it informative. Tell me in the comments what you think about the theory and if you think it holds any water. And as always, I am Badger Wild saying stay safe, stay frosty, and feet first into the fire, Helldivers. We'll see you all. Fight for democracy, and I'll see y'all next time.